It is just as I feared. The current monsoon season of 2022 is bringing to Pakistan the worst floods in its history in terms of the intensity of the floods, how widespread they are, and how long they have been going on. Scenes like these are happening in nearly every corner of the nation. It's quite clear that the current floods exceed what happened in 2000 rival or exceed what happened in 2010 in terms of the impact of the nation, the scale of the disaster. But this is an ongoing situation. Full data is not available yet on what has already happened. Plus, there isn't much clarity in what is being reported about the situation in terms of the extent of the floods and the scale of the impact on people. In the media, we are hearing variously that a third of the nation is affected, or that even that half of the nation is affected by the flood, and sometimes we're hearing that a third of Pakistan or half of Pakistan is underwater. As for the how people are affected, a few days ago the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs announced that 3 million Pakistanis are affected by the floods. But at the same time, the authorities in Pakistan have constantly been saying that 30 million or 33 million Pakistanis are affected by the floods. Sometimes we hear in the media that the figure is even 45 million or 50 million, which I read in one place. So what is really going on? Well, because after all, the previous worst flood in Pakistan's history, that of 2010, we were told that they affected a fifth of the nation. They submerged a fifth of the nation and affected 20 million Pakistanis. But half of the nation being submerged and 45 million Pakistanis affected, that's way bigger. Well, there has recently been some clarity in the media and from government officials of Pakistan that 3 million people are the number that's displaced by the floods. In other words, the most badly affected, while 45 million Pakistanis or 30 million Pakistanis there who are affected in other ways by the floods, meaning they're more mildly affected, which is good, but that's still a huge portion of Pakistan's population which is suffering because of what's happening right now. As for the scale of the flooding itself, here's a map from Wikipedia that is supposed to show the floods. The red areas are supposed to be the worst affected districts in Pakistan, and from the look of it, it really looks like half the nation is underwater. This map has since been removed from Wikipedia, and it may not be a reliable one. Here's a detailed map from Relief Web, showing the damage by the number of damaged houses per district in Pakistan. As you can see here, most of Punjab seems to have gotten off, seems to have escaped damage. I don't know if that's because there isn't much rainfall happening in Punjab, or if the rainfall there is just as heavy as in other parts of Pakistan, but they're not causing damage because Punjab is quite used to heavy monsoon rainfall. It's usually the rainiest part of Pakistan, and there are a lot of rivers and wide open fields to absorb rainwater. Meanwhile, there's also been quite a lot of flood and damage in the mountainous areas of Pakistan's north and northwest. But the lion's share of the disaster is in southern Pakistan, here in Sindh, in Balochistan, and especially Sindh. This is where the floods are the most widespread and where there are the greatest number of people being affected. This is where the catastrophe truly is. Now, back in 2010, when it was said the floods submerged a fifth of Pakistan, those were mostly riverine floods, and that means that the rivers expanded and overflowed and covered wide areas. What that must have meant was that areas that were affected by the floods, they were in most cases completely submerged, and that's why being one-fifth of Pakistan being affected by the floods meant one-fifth of Pakistan was underwater. But the floods happening right now, they are caused by rainfall happening in various parts all over Pakistan, and that creates scattered floods here and there. So what this must mean is that when they say a third or fifth of Pakistan is affected, that means that's the part of Pakistan where there's heavy rainfall causing floods. But that does not mean those areas are under continuous bodies of water. They're probably just seeing scattered floods here and there or from time to time, and that means the people are suffering, but half of Pakistan is not under water truly. So that must be what is going on. But even if only a little bit of the nation is underwater, this is still quite a huge disaster. Here is satellite imagery of the actual floods themselves to make it clear what's going on. The image on the left is of August 27th, 2021, showing Sindh. The image on the right is August 27, 2022, showing the same area. As you can see, in 2021, Pakistan was not really badly affected by the flooding at all, by the monsoon at all. It was a mild monsoon, but here you can see there are all these blue patches which must signify flood waters. Here is dark blue over here. That must be a huge body of really deep water, and then there are these scattered light blue. There's basically floods everywhere, uprooting people. And so these are the actual floods themselves that you're seeing, not just a map drawn of them. And you can tell from the image, from this image, that it is a really bad situation, and it is far from over. The floods are still expanding. The flood wave in Sindh is advancing towards lower lying areas, and Pakistan government officials are saying that more heavy rainfall is coming in September. That means that we could have a whole month of extreme rainfall up ahead, causing more floods. And what we have to watch out for most is where those rains fall, because they could very well end up falling not just in southern Pakistan but also in the mountainous areas of the northwest. There's already heavy rainfall there, but if the rainfall increases, if we have entire monsoon currents being redirected towards this area, then the calamity could worsen considerably, because that's what happened back in 2010. Most of the rainfall took place in the mountainous areas. When the clouds reached the mountains, they got lifted up and a lot of rain fell at once, and this caused a lot of damage, because first, as the flood waters flowed down the mountains, they packed a lot of power, so they caused tremendous destruction, and half of all the casualties that Pakistan suffered. Then when they reached low-lying areas, when they reached the Indus Basin and entered the Indus River, the Indus expanded all at once. It overflowed, and it ended up displacing 20 million people. So that's what happened. An intense amount of rainfall in short periods of time in late July and early August 2010. And if the same thing happens now, then we'll have the same experience. Instead of just southern Pakistan being most affected, we'd have very bad effects all over northern Pakistan as well. That means millions more people who are hit hard. And so that is a really big danger for us. Pakistan is suffering so much from floods right now that even a mild increase in rainfall in the mountainous areas could greatly multiply the strain on the nation. So let's just hope that doesn't happen, but it could very well happen. There's already heavy rainfall in KPK and Gilgit-Baltistan, causing already tremendous devastation. And it's not just the 30 or 45 million people directly affected by the floods. The damaged agriculture is causing food prices to skyrocket for people all across Pakistan. This on top of the food crisis has already been happening for months. So this is a terrible situation, and Pakistanis need to unite to handle the situation. Managing these floods, helping all our countrymen, all our brethren get through this disaster must be the main preoccupation of the nation in the coming days, weeks and months. Let's set everything else aside and let's get together and let's be determined to tackle this new challenge, the greatest, which may well be the greatest test in our nation's history. The future of Pakistan hangs in the balance right now. So let's get this right. And let's just mobilize the entire nation to do everything we can, to put all our effort and to make the right decisions in fighting these floods. My name is Raja Shazif Khan, and you are watching the YouTube channel of Pakistan's people-led disaster management. Please subscribe to this channel so you can keep up with the extensive coverage of the flooding that will follow this video.